The enemies want to end Deadpool's timeline, but he has to save it at any cost to protect his beloved friends. Wilson, the Deadpool, searches for Wolverine's variant in another timeline, and how they team up to fight against Paradox and Nova is a thrilling and action-packed Marvel story. The movie begins when Deadpool, Wilson, digs the ground to search for Wolverine. Logan is dead, but Wilson needs him badly before the people from the Time Variant Authority come after him. The grave contains nothing but Logan's bones, and the loudmouthed Wilson talks to his skeleton as the Time Variant Authority soldiers arrive to arrest him for breaching his timeline and committing numerous other crimes. He assures them that he will not use any weapons and uses Logan's skeleton as cover to fight against the TVA soldiers holding their sparkling weapons. But he slits their throats to combat them, using every last bone of Logan's. The scene shifts to Wilson being on Earth 616, where he goes to the company that makes people Avengers and requests them to hire him as an Avenger. Because, as a variant, he wants to prove to his girlfriend Vanessa that he is capable of doing so. With his absurd convincing, he fails to persuade the CEO, who hires people who want to serve others as Avengers. He is rejected, and afterwards, for the next 6 years, he works as a sales consultant at a used car dealership. Once again, today he shows a car to a family and cannot control his blabbering. The unsuccessful job has brought him nothing but dissatisfaction. Hence, his friend Peter advises him that if Wilson is bored with his job, he should wear the Deadpool suit once a month to serve humanity. But Wilson rejects him sternly, and on their way home, he notices that someone took his photo, but they quickly go home. There is a surprise birthday party waiting for him at home. He loves all the people who came to celebrate. Blind Al sarcastically asks him about his earnings, but he conceals that he is broke by saying that he is doing odd jobs. Wilson's love of his life, Vanessa, reveals that she has been promoted to an important post and is seeing a new guy who likes hiking. He is disappointed to learn that he is losing her. The moment he blows out the birthday candles, someone knocks on his door. It's the soldiers from the TVA. Before he can dodge them, they take him to Mr. Paradox, who is running the TVA. Mr. Paradox assures him that their recent mission is not about breaching the timeline 6 years ago. Taking Wilson to an internal room of the TVA, Mr. Paradox shows him various future timelines, including Avengers. Suddenly, Wilson sees himself dying in the distant future, with Thor crying beside him, and jumps out of happiness, thinking he is the Messiah of the world. He is so thrilled that he will save the Marvel world, so he happily rushes to change into his Deadpool superhero suit. Returning to Mr. Paradox, he discusses the terms of the job, stating that he would be vacationing on weekends and working on his own terms. But Mr. Paradox tells him that he is going to be shifted to another timeline forever, because the anchor being of Earth 616 is dead, and he is not the anchor being. It was Logan the Wolverine who self-sacrificed, and the timeline has suffered significant damage. For a moment of shock, Wilson could not believe that a guy like Wolverine, with sharp claws like hands, was so important to their timeline. But Mr. Paradox tells him that it's the truth, and he is tasked with monitoring the end of this world. They have only 72 hours before he will end it in a moment. Because he doesn't like it ending due to natural causes, he prefers a painless end in an instant. Paradox takes pride in becoming the mercy killer instead of trying to save the world. He gives Wilson a choice: to die with the end of the world with his loved ones or go to the sacred timeline. But Wilson instantly jumps to snatch the device to change the timeline and goes to search for Wolverine. He punches Mr. Paradox on the nose, jumps down, and disappears after pressing the hand device's switch. After reappearing in another universe, he discovers only Logan the Wolverine's skeleton. But TVA's soldiers come following him, and he finishes every last one of them before heading to search for Logan in that timeline. Soon afterward, he finds a variant of Logan alive, sitting in a cafe, but he was a really inappropriate choice. Later, he meets a fighter, gambler, biker variant, as well as a cowboy. But at last, he finds his choice of Logan's variant in a bar. The bartender is rude to him for being the worst man. When Wilson asks him to come with him to help, he refuses sternly. But afterward, he drinks an entire bottle of alcohol and falls down, becoming unconscious. Wilson drags him to the TVA's office using his time travel device to show Mr. Paradox that this is the anchor being of the Earth 616 timeline, and now they don't need to destroy this timeline. But Mr. Paradox refuses to accept this Wolverine as he is responsible for all the destruction. Now, for the first time, Wilson discovers that Marvel bosses are not aware of what Mr. Paradox was going to do with this timeline. When Wilson threatens to expose him, Mr. Paradox sends him and Wolverine Logan into a void timeline. That enrages Logan, and he beats Wilson badly with his Wolverine claws. At first, Wilson cannot resist, but then he uses his gun and sword, giving Logan a very tough fight, resulting in multiple piercings in Logan as well. But no one gets really hurt as both regenerate quickly. Suddenly, someone calls them, and they turn towards him to see who it is. It's Johnny Storm, who tells them that they are in the territory of Cassandra Nova, and it's a void space where one can either die or live to serve her. At the same time, two of her fighters arrive to abduct them. Even though Storm fights back with Pyro with all his might, he falls from high above as he extinguishes his fire, while Storm kills Sabretooth. They put Storm, Logan, and Wilson in a cage and take them to Nova's castle. She had long awaited the arrival of Marvel's Storm and Wolverine, and also had a history with Wolverine, who had given her a wound. She is also saddened that her twin brother abandoned her. At the same time, the loudmouth Wilson tells Nova that Storm was telling them she is quite a terrible ruler. Storm refuses to provoke Nova's wrath, but she turns Storm into ashes. Now Wilson tells Nova that their universe is on the verge of destruction because a villain wants it so. Here, Wolverine is the savior, and she can either help them or be ready to be punished by Wolverine. But Nova has no intention of helping them, as when TVA sent her here as a child, she thinks they did her a favor. Besides, her twin brother never tried to search for her. But Deadpool tells her that it's wrong, and if he had known she was in the void, he would have come. Wolverine tells her she is not safe here and attacks her, but she throws him to the ground. Angry, Nova tries to shut Wilson up and puts her hand on his brain to read his mind. She goes through all that happened to him and why he never wanted to wear the Deadpool costume. Nova messes with his brain, trying to make him believe that Vanessa hated him. And then, when Wolverine attacks her, she leaves them to be devoured by Aliath. Wilson and Logan run to save their lives and end up in another plane. Wolverine agrees to help. Logan agrees to save the world only if Wilson makes TVA fix what they did in the past that ruined his life. They sit at a restaurant where Wilson tells him that after his last failure, his life was ruined as he lost his girlfriend. Later, he tells Wolverine that the real Logan died after being hit by a tree when he was trying to save a variant named X-23. Suddenly, they meet Wilson's variant Deadpool, who is too nice to them and appears with a dog. They tell him that they need to get to the borderland, and he offers them to use his Honda Odyssey. Wilson keeps arguing with Logan on the way, and when he gets angry, he insults him as the half-wit of all the Avengers world. But Wilson pleads with him to help by showing the picture of his friends who matter to him. But they cannot maintain their peace with each other, and a fight begins. Deadpool and Wolverine beat each other and smash the Honda Odyssey. Later, the good Deadpool finds them unconscious and drives the car to a cave-like hideout. Here they meet Gambit, Elektra, X-23, and Blade. Wilson explains what TVA planned: to destroy their world by sending all the superheroes into the void. Wilson asks them all to team up and convince Nova to send them back to the world. They know that Nova's psychic powers can only be blocked by a helmet that one of her men has. They plan to get the helmet from that man and control Nova's powers. Later that night, X-23 thanks Logan for saving her life, but he is sad that Scott, Jean, and Storm all wanted him to be on their team. But when he got out of the bar, it was already too late. But X-23 tells him that they can accomplish their mission without him, even if he is the wrong guy. Mr. Paradox wants Pyro to use Nova as their wild card to get Wolverine and the rest of the mutants out there. However, Pyro wants to take Nova's life as the price for his task. On the other hand, all the superheroes reach Nova's castle to get the helmet, while the man with the helmet fights them with an army of his men, leaving the rest of them fighting. Logan and Wilson reach Nova to help them get home. But Nova pushes Deadpool away and messes with Logan's brain. He is so distraught that he turns the entire world against the X-Men. She offers in his hypnosis that she can set him free. But at the same time, X-23 brings the helmet and Deadpool puts it on her head. Meanwhile, Pyro arrives and shoots many bullets at Nova. With the helmet on her head, she has no healing power. Logan loved X-Man, who was her brother, and he was a hero who wanted to save everyone. Deadpool removes the helmet, which regenerates Nova's wounds and saves her life. At the same time, she tells them that she found a strange ring on an X-Man's body. This ring helps create a portal to their universe. She opens it as a reward for saving her life so that Logan and Wilson can get back to their world and save it. They jump quickly and fall into a car reseller shop and run towards a TVA. Meanwhile, Mr. Paradox is running the final test as it is almost time to end the universe. Suddenly, Wilson and Logan reappear, and he cannot believe it, as no one has ever returned from the void. At the same time, a portal appears, and Nova kills Pyro in front of Mr. Paradox. She gets into his mind and throws Logan and Wilson away. She is so angry that he interrupted her void. She drags Mr. Paradox to the TVA to find out what he is doing there. Nova makes him tell the head of the TVA that he is destroying the universe without informing them. On the other hand, a number of Deadpool's variants of every age and race arrive as Nova sent them all here because she now wants to destroy all the timelines. That way, everything and all the timelines will vanish using the Time Ripper, and only a void will remain. Wilson, using the nicest variant, gets to the other side to save himself. And then Wolverine shows himself from behind to fight and kill all the variants of Deadpool. But as much as they kill those variants, they reappear. At the same time, Peter arrives because even if they are Logan and Wilson's enemies, Peter is the friend of all. Meanwhile, Nova takes hold of matter and antimatter to rip all the realities with the Time Ripper. Logan points his claws at her and says that if they do not let her rip the Time Ripper, then the realities will not be distorted, and hence they can save the world. He warns them that if they complete the circuit of matter and antimatter, it will atomize their bodies. Logan and Wilson run to do what they can, and without telling Logan, Wilson locks the door from the inside to make an effort to save the world. Logan tries to shatter the door, but by that time Wilson breaks the matter and pushes it away, though his hand was too far from the antimatter. Meanwhile, the reading of the Time Ripper is lowering quickly. As the time integrity drops to 0, all their timelines will be destroyed. On the other hand, Logan shatters the door and joins hands with Wilson to connect the matter and antimatter to complete the circuit. This completes the circuit and the readings of time integrity go up. Meanwhile, Nova screams as her body is ripping apart. At the same time, Logan remembers that he always thought of himself as the wrong guy, while Wilson misses Vanessa, whom he wanted to prove himself to in her eyes. The high voltage burns Nova. Meanwhile, the TVA authorities arrive to interrogate Mr. Paradox about the unsanctioned Time Ripper. He was attempting to mercilessly kill this universe without letting anyone know. And now that he knows he is caught, he tries to prove himself innocent and claims to be a hero who saved the world. But at the same time, Logan and Wilson enter the room dressed as Deadpool and Wolverine. Now he is really worried to answer the questions as their anchor being of the universe is alive, and he has no excuse. They say that they would have killed him, but Wolverine joined hands with him, so they saved the timeline and survived. TVA officials order that Deadpool be taken to the void. But at the same time, Peter comes in to say that he belongs here as he was the variant from this Earth. The TVA now knows that all the mess was created by Mr. Paradox and orders his arrest. She tells them that they saved the world from extinction, and now Wilson wants the rest of their companions to come back to Earth. The TVA official promises them that she will think about it. At last, Wolverine wants her to fix the errors of his past timeline, but she says there is nothing to be fixed. Wilson spends his life serving humanity, and Logan is retired now. Meanwhile, Wilson wins Vanessa's heart once again.